welcome to the War Room. How are you two doing today?
Doing great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, doing great. Really excited to be on the show with you.
Yeah.
Jules and Stacey are here. All right. So, okay. I love asking people this question because it usually pertains to so many possibilities when the conversations open up. And I know Jason and I have done this enough times to see what it does. But with OME Gear and what you've done, I asked myself, I want to change it up a little bit and ask, did you, either of you, grow up going outdoors a lot?
Well, I'm a product of the 70s, so absolutely. I mean, our parents locked us out of the door, out of the house, and we didn't come back in until dinner time.
Yes.
You know, our water bottles were out of a water hose. But as far as extreme sports and athletes outside, no, but I was always outdoors doing something.
Yeah, and I'm going to date myself, but I remember it being a treat to get an hour playing Atari. If you guys know what Atari is. But the majority of the time was spent outside.
Mm-hmm.
I have four brothers and one sister and mom and dad, and we would play basketball on the summer nights, and we'd go swimming in our pool, and we were always outdoors. Always. So absolutely.
Got it. And now I'll bring it back to where it usually goes. Have either of you come from family of entrepreneurs?
Do you want to answer that?
I do not. Actually, my dad was in the postal service. He was a postmaster, and then my mom was a head photographer at the bomb plant, we called it, in New Ellington, South Carolina. But I always felt like I had the entrepreneurial bug. I always tell people I used to paint rocks and go door to door and try to sell them, or I'd do something. I was a babysitter. Anytime I could make any kind of money other than picking up pine cones, I didn't like doing that, but I could do whatever I could do to make some money. I would do it. So I think it was in my blood, but I do not come from that background.
Yep, and I do actually. My mom, 56 or 7 or maybe more years ago, started a bakery right outside of Pennsylvania, and my brother ended up taking it over and celebrated the 50-year mark, and he's continued with it. But they actually won Best Wedding Cake in America on the top 10 from Delish magazine. And so it wasn't just a small little bakery. I mean, it was when we were growing up, but every day after school, after basketball practice, I would have to go downstairs and flip out cakes and decorate cakes. And so, yeah, I very much grew up in an entrepreneurial family.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot to work with there. Really interesting times to be growing up in. And I think it's great that you're responding to the state of the world today with, some outdoorsy gear and reasons to go outside. Yeah, there's just not enough of that these days. And I was wondering if part of your business takes that into account, the idea to encourage, because I mean, look, you're building your business on the road, on the move. Most people spend their time indoors in the one place. Maybe I'll go, maybe I won't. Has that come into your philosophy in building your brand?
Absolutely. Except we started building our brand, we incorporated in 2018. And so it was almost like we had this crazy foresight to build an outdoor gear product that would be perfect for COVID, right? I mean, because we get pictures from customers where they are using our product, the Wanderer, as their like office. I mean, that's the chair they sit in to do their work all day, or, they're taking their family on vacations, or they now bought an RV. And so then they bought 2 of these for their RV. And so, yes, we do very much take into account that this is an outdoor product. Our whole goal is to encourage people to get outside more. I think we've become way too dependent, myself included, on computers and phones and screens and all of that. And so we very much try to encourage people to get outside, and our product just makes it easier to do that.
I love this. This is where I want to turn it over to Jason. As a parent, I know that you probably, are you kicking your kids out the way they used to do to us? Because I was lucky enough to be like at the end of that, the tail end of like, go outside. And, I was drinking out of the water hose too. So I'm curious. That's actually, right, yeah. I want to tie this around. Jason, do you have a philosophy on that, a stance?
Oh gosh, yeah. I'm totally a Gen X. I mean, there was no inside. I grew up in the country. There was 3 channels on TV of
Yeah.
none of it, which I did not want to watch. You know, and it was like mom said, get the hell out, see you at dinner, and figure it out. Just don't come back bleeding. Right. So wore a key around the neck to get in after school, you know,
Yes.
all that stuff. Just and my parents are both very entrepreneurial. My mom had restaurants and clothing stores, and I grew up in a town of like 300, and she pretty much ran the one store in town. Pretty much. The rest of them were bars. So it was like 6 bars in a 300 person town. So it was
those are the priorities, I guess.
Those are priorities, right? Farmers got to have something to do in the winter. Got a bar hop.
Yeah.
But it's interesting though how, you know, generationally speaking, right? How from the new upcoming or newer, younger business owners to people like us is they really know how to leverage technology a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really, really good at it. Like I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. They both know how to use my iPhone better than I do.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
way better. It's amazing. And you look at that's why I try to surround myself with younger people. That way they know how to do all that stuff.
That's cute. That's
But
great.
it's a great thing you got going, traveling the United States and promoting your business and your brand and doing all that stuff. And you know, it's like grassroots, right?
Yeah.
Which
And that's what we intended it to be. I mean, when we sold our house to invest equity in our company, and we were like, okay, what's next? And we got a rental property there in Charleston, and then we just like, all right, let's hit the road. Let's go ahead and let's go build this brand. And so we wrapped the RV and we're out doing marketing, and so we're a traveling billboard. So everybody can see it, you know, traveling down the road. We actually have QR codes. So it's an assistive technology. You know, we threw some QR codes on it. So we're riding down the road. People are snapping pictures at it, or snapping on the QR code, going straight to our website. It's usually spikes like 200 to 300% every time we're traveling down the road.
what's
Oh, wow.
amazing about that is you were so confident, or maybe not confident. You knew you needed that change, and you were willing to give it all up to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Very few people have that much confidence in what they're doing to
Mm-hmm.
do something like that. And I know because I've worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and business owners, and rarely do you hear that right there. Very rarely, where somebody's just, you're all in, period, right? Not just dipping a little toe in here or all that. So gosh, good on you, and congratulations for that, for sure. That's awesome.
Thanks. That means a lot, Jason. And I think it's not easy, right? I mean, if anybody told you it was easy, they would 100% be lying. But when we first started this, and I think it's only evolved as we've gone, we knew that this was about more than just a product, or even more than just a company. Stacey and I are together, we're married, and we believe that collectively that there's a call on our lives to have a platform of influence. Now that sounds really big and it sounds really lofty and all of that. Now the influence might be massive, or it might be to our world, right? But a lot of times, in order to have a platform of influence that's notable, you have to be successful in something, right? In the world's eyes. Like, you have to be successful in building something or doing something that other people want to be a part of. And so for us with this, it has become about the company and about the product, but it's about so much more. And so when we got to a point where we needed investment dollars, we had equity in our house, we looked at each other and we said, how much do we believe in this? And we both looked at it, said without hesitation, 100%. And so we knew what we had to do. It wasn't really even like, it sort of wasn't even a choice. It was like, this is the next step that we need to take in order to keep walking this path to build what we believe we're supposed to be building. But I appreciate you saying that. I mean, it means a lot, because it has been many times, it's been a very hard road that if we didn't have each other, one of us may not still be doing it. It's been that hard.
Wow, there's so much to be said about this. Just because, yeah, there are a lot of people who tackle solopreneurship and then it may or may not work out. So I can see the power in having the right partner. And I've done enough interviews to know that the successful partnerships are all about just, I stay in my lane, they stay in their lane. We don't even bother each other with any of the details. We just focus on what we know we need to do. We actually need to talk about. And what you're doing with getting traction, right? Which is the hardest part of business, right? You've decided that you'll be focusing overall on your strategy with the tactic of traveling the world and having that QR code. So cool. It makes sense, especially when people are on the road. They're going to want to scan it as you're driving or what have you. I see what you're doing. And we got a chance to talk about this before we hit record. You've found a channel that you were resistant about using, and yet somehow it's proven to be worth the effort, because content is effort. There's so much work that goes into content, even if it's seemingly jokish and, fun. There's a lot of work and thought that goes into it. So I'd like to know more about this. When we're talking about the elephant in the room is TikTok, and your thoughts on that, because a lot of people are resistant to it. And we might as well talk to somebody who's actually seen it and who has a consumer product on top of that. So there's so many layers to that. So please enlighten us.
Well, I'll say I didn't really want to do TikTok. I'm just not, I'm barely on Instagram, and I just don't want to put all of our lives out there. But finally Jules just said, let's just try it. Let's just put a couple of videos up there with the Wanderer, with their product, and just see what happens. And then we started getting the likes and the comments and the clicks, and then the endorphins started coming in, and we're like, oh my gosh, there's something here. And then we started getting sales, and then the sales started coming, and they didn't quit coming. They're still coming. We just sold 4 more today. It's just from that video. And so, but Jules is the mastermind behind it. I just, I resisted it because I didn't want our lives out there any more than it already was. But it has actually been a very valuable resource to us, but since she's the mastermind behind it, she can speak to it more.
So we didn't know anything about TikTok, honestly, except that I've been resisting it for a year. One of our investors said to us, you need to get on it. And we're like, literally one more thing, but finally, like Stacey said, I did it. And then we did 2 channels, right? So instead of doing nothing, we then were like, all right, well, let's just do 2. Let's make it even harder on ourselves. So we did one personally that was called Do It in Nature. And then we did one that was for our company, and it was, the OME Gear. But the one personally for us was getting so much more traction, where we were just doing it about our lives on the road. Living in the RV, we would give tips. We would show cooking demonstrations. We would show us making cocktails in the RV, that sort of thing. And then always kind of pull in there our product, the Wanderer. We would always sort of have that in there somewhere. But then I started getting viral videos, like my video, it would get 250,000, and then I would keep watching it. And overnight I would wake up to 350,000 views. I was like, what is happening here? While our company one wasn't really getting the traction that we wanted, because nobody was really focused on it. And so we just said, well, what if we combine the 2 and make it just @OME Gear? And so we turned our personal one into the @OME Gear one, kept it as a creator profile. And we don't know if we're doing it right. I mean, honestly, TikTok is such the wild, wild west, right? But we did put a video up 2 weeks ago, and my gosh, it's gotten 1.7, 1.8 million views. Wow. And so we did it on I don't know when we posted, on a weekend day. literally the next 3 days, the entire weekend, I'm responding to TikTok. I'm responding to TikTok comments. And so I'm responding to thousands of TikTok comments, and there's a lot of trolls on there. So there's a lot of negativity, but my philosophy was, I'm even going to respond to them with kindness, because I want the people who are the real customers or potential customers to go, okay, these are like really good people. Like they try to be kind and they don't respond back with negativity and all of that. So that strategy has worked. And I'm sitting here scratching my head going, what in the world? How is this thing blown up like it has? But it's blowing up with really, really cool traction. And I'm not complaining. We're going to keep going.
Unfortunately, that weekend I went out and had, drinking and having a good time, and she was stuck here doing TikTok. I mean,
that's not totally true. I was out there drinking with her. I was just responding as I'm drinking my cocktails. So
you guys better be careful. You might break the internet.
Right. We're nowhere near there. No. That's for sure. But now through your podcast, we might be. So
maybe.
Yeah.
I can see some fun things taking place when I hear that story and I hear how you're leveraging it and what you did with it. And I'd love to know, you can get to that in a second, what video was that got those? Like, was it just because you posted a random video or such? But what I really want to say here is I can see how, since you're already traveling the world and already doing what you're doing, promoting the gear, showing that outdoors is possible. There's a few things, right? Like, number one, how are you getting internet? But the other thing is, there are some people who are musicians on tour right now who would probably love to leverage someone's platform. And at the same time, you can tap into their network. And most musicians tend to have outdoorsy friends. And if you were to meet out on the road and go outdoors and do like a small little outdoors concert with a couple of notes or something like that, I can also see that being added value and content. I'm just thinking here as a strategist, you know what I mean? So a few things, right? Number one, how are you getting internet if you're traveling the world that way? I'd love to know what tool you're using. And I'm sure anyone who's an entrepreneur is like, I need to take a road trip. How will I get my internet? So we'd love to answer that. And the other is, what was that video?
You take the first one.
So internet has always been, that's also the wild, wild west. There's not a perfect internet. I mean, we're in the backwoods of Florida right now. Even our phones are really, sketchy. Most RV parks have internet service. They have it connected throughout the park. Some parks are good, some parks aren't.
Do not rely on that.
Do not, because today the RV parks internet's down. And so it's completely down. So I'm having to use my hotspot. So we have 2 Verizon phones and we have an AT&T phone on our rig. We also have another system, that the system came with the RV, but it was so expensive. So we ended up finding another system that works for the most part okay. And it is a T-Mobile system. So we have all the providers here on the RV, so we can hook up to one or the other. So we just make sure that we have enough data on all of our phones, the AT&T and the 2 Verizons, and then we have enough data coming in from the T-Mobile. So for the most part, we've been able to get this service wherever we are in the United States.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were on a TV show, though, America's Big Deal, and we won. But we had to go for the interview. We had to have really excellent service, and so we actually had to go to a friend that we met through Facebook, friends on Facebook. We had to go to her house to make sure we had really good internet service. So there have been times where we can't rely on the backups of our backups. We have to go to somebody's house. But to answer your question on the video, so here's one tip that I will say. The videos that you think will go viral will not. And the videos that you're like, oh, I don't think I should put this one up there. It's not good. Like, I feel like it's like the quality's not good, whatever. Those are the 2 that have gone the most viral for us. Wow. So one of them was one of our team members was in the audience. Stacey and I did a pitch in Charleston for Dig South, and it's the tech conference of the Southeast. And so we pitched against technology. We called ours assistive technology for your gear. And we actually won second. And so the video that went almost 2 million views was our pitch on stage of Stacey doing a demo and me talking through it. And I made a comment on there about, we're women, we care about the details, not that men don't, but we do. And man, I have gotten raked over the coals for that comment. I mean, I'm like, I'm not a sexist, I promise. Like, I love men. Like, I think they're so valuable to this world, just like women are. But it wasn't, but it's like, you have to be really careful because there's people that are sitting out there waiting to like, oh, you said this, that was not right. And, you know, and I mean, to be fair, like, if they don't know me, I guess they could take that as sexist, but it was not at all meant to be that. But so I've had to sort of navigate through that with that video where we're actually going to do a response video just saying, hey, I promise you I'm not sexist. Like, I'm sorry that came out wrong. I was nervous. But anyway, that was the one. And the other one that went crazy on us was Stace. We were eating dinner and somebody came out. Our door was open in the RV and somebody was like, hello? We're literally sat down to eat dinner. And so we go out and Stace walks out. She goes, yeah, hi. And he goes, can I see a demo of this product? So she does the demo and I just happened to pull up my phone because I was actually like, oh, so frustrated because I just wanted to show our team and our family. I'm like, this is our lives now. Like, we don't even get to sit down and eat dinner. So I videoed it and it's terrible quality because it was at night and I threw it up on TikTok. And I think we've gotten, I don't even, at least 500,000 views on it. So I'm like, that is just insane. It's the ones that you do not think will do anything. And then I'll post one. I'm like, man, this thing is going to go crazy viral. And I get like 2,000 views, you know, you can't predict it.
And now every time someone comes up to the RV, I look around and I see a camera. I see her phone somewhere trying to get video to reenact.
That's right. I'm trying to duplicate the viral video, but I don't know.
No, I respect it. It's one of the things that I actually took from Gary Vee, constantly saying like document. And I say it every time I talk to somebody about content. It's as a strategist, I'm always like, you know, it's one thing to document. It's another to think that documentation is content, right? You hit record and you might land on gold and it might just be the entirety of it. But if it's not, at least you hit record and you can clip it for gold, right? Because you got to dig sometimes for the gold. But I love that. That's what you're doing. It's a great philosophy. I mean, that's part of what I love about being able to have these conversations alongside Jason with other business owners is we get to, not only do we get to learn, and I imagine those listening are doing the same, it really becomes a thing where you just never know what you could learn by listening. And at the very least, you listen to someone else who understands the struggle of being a business owner, who understands that it's never easy. And here's what they did to overcome something. And that might be the thing the listener needed. And so that's what's beautiful about this. I want to make sure I give the floor to Jason. I feel like I've been talking for a while here, and I'm sure he's got a thing or two to say.
Yeah. You know, I think most of us have, you know, for me, like on camera years and years ago, I was terrified of that. Right. So it wasn't me, wasn't my thing. I'm still very anti-drag my family across Facebook or any of that kind of stuff. Right. But, you know, I think as we overcome fears, we just get better and better and better. Right. When it comes to, and then just being authentic. I think authenticity is the most important. People aren't looking for this polished stuff anymore. You know, it's okay. Don't be afraid. Pull your phone up and just talk, right? Yeah. And have a conversation like you're having a conversation with millions of people, right? Because I do it all the time now. And it's more like, you know, when did we have to work so hard to just be authentic? I mean, that should be a basic human skill, right? Should be kind of easy to do it, right? Yeah. And, you know, we have all these powerful tools that are at our fingertips now that where I look at my grandpa and his business, he had none of that. My mom and dad had none of that. And all we have to do is just be our most authentic self. And all we can do is hope that we reach the right audience. And that's it. Right. So what I'm curious about is, can you just tell us the audience a little bit about your flagship product?
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. So the Wanderer is a 5-in-1. Actually, it's more like an 8-in-1 now. We keep finding, our customers keep finding different ways to use it, which is a lot of fun. But it's a cart / hauler that holds up in the cart mode. It holds up to 150 pounds of gear. And then the hauler mode, you can actually carry kayaks and surfboards and paddleboards, and it can hold about 200, 250 pounds of gear, depending on what you're taking. So it will carry that big, heavy ass cooler with it filled. And then once you get to where you're going, if you choose to unload it, you don't have to. It will sit there and it will go over any kind of deep sand. It'll go over any kind of terrain. We have the wheels that do not require air, and they're actually a santoprene rubber, so they squish down, and they'll go over rocks, and they'll go upstairs and downstairs, and like I said, on the deep sand. And then once you get to where you're going, it transforms into a higher off the ground camping type chair, a lower to the ground beach chair, a fully reclining lounge chair, and a camping cot. And so it's a hauler and a cart first and foremost, and then it can transform into seating positions, any kind of seating or sleeping positions if you choose to use it that way.
It's cool. Very
Wow.
Thanks. We're pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a long work in process, because the original concept came 24 years ago from my mom and dad. And it was just a 2-in-1, and they tried to take it to market and just couldn't figure out how. And so I picked it up, redesigned it into a 3-in-1, ended up partnering with a manufacturer that I didn't want to be partnered with long term. And so I ended up walking away from that. And then Stace and I in 2017, 16-ish said, gosh, nobody has taken this idea of a transforming product for the outdoors. And so we started to just think about redesigning it. And then we incorporated in 2018, and then we started shipping product just a year ago. So it's been a long story, a long journey.
Yeah.
That in itself is another podcast waiting to happen.
It is. Absolutely is. Part 2.
Yeah,
Part 2.
COVID put a huge wrench, obviously, in a lot of things, but it was a blessing in a lot of ways too. But that was a tough year for us, because we had funded on a Kickstarter, so we were trying to get Kickstarter orders filled and all that kind of stuff. But
So much respect for the hustle. There are people out there who would have quit a long time ago for any number of reasons, right? And you haven't. And it's almost one of those things where the only people that could have redesigned it and taken it where it needed to go was you two. And maybe that's why it was what it was. Sometimes you just have to see it for what it is, because quite frankly, that's literally what happened, right? Nowhere else, no matter where you took it, was the vision clear enough. And yet again, another reason for business owners to hear this and go, you have to trust the vision you see that only you can see, because many others won't be able to see it, even if you told them in painstaking detail. Some things are only seen by certain eyes or heard by certain ears, as a musician could tell you. So I think it's powerful what you've done with it. I'm really inspired by this story, and I want to turn it over to two important things that I always love to do once we've established just how much experience you've had as business owners. And that is, number one, for someone who's young or someone who's been on the fence about starting a business, even if they're not young, because that doesn't matter, where and what would you tell them to start looking and start doing if you had a chance to speak to yourselves when you were on the fence about, oh, should we do this? Should we go all in? Now that you have and you've seen the results.
I would say for me, the biggest thing that's helped us grow our company is our network.
mm-hmm.
And that it is all about, and I mean, underline capital in italics, all about relationships for us. It's not about the product. It's not about the company. It's not about money. It's not about all these other things that we try to make it be about because it's easier. Sometimes it being about relationships is actually the hardest thing. Just because we're people, right? And we approach things differently. But I would say to somebody, and what I would have said to my younger self too, is build a genuine network. Get in groups that allow you to build your network with really good people. Because you never know what person is going to take you to the next level, and so 100% it's all about your network is what I would, and what I do encourage younger people now is build your network and be genuine. Don't expect anything back from people, just build relationships and let life show you how you're supposed to be involved and help each other.
And mine would be willing to listen. There's not an idea out there that hasn't been explored before. I mean, I don't know if there's any new ideas, but there's always a piece of an idea that you can build on to create something new or solve a problem. But just be willing to listen, because people have done it out there before, and people have more experience. There's so many people that we lean into every single day to help us navigate the waters. Because sometimes we feel like we're on a boat made out of chicken wire and we're sinking, but we literally keep paddling and listening and reaching out for advice, or if somebody knows someone, because somebody always knows someone. But yeah, it goes back to building the relationships and being willing to listen and learn.
We have this one fly that is not leaving us alone. I think the fly is jealous and wants a question to be asked.
I think it asked buzz, 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 buzz. And Jason was like, yes, agreed, as he sipped scotch.
Yes, fine, flying friend, my flying friend.
That's right. Sorry, we keep doing this. People are like, what are you doing? But
I thought you were telling us, get the show on the road.
I thought you were telling me to be quiet.
I was doing the same thing because I run a CEO action pod with a bunch of CEOs in it, and I kept doing this. There was this fly, and I kept doing this, and people were like, "What are you doing? Why do you keep waving your hand all weird? It's just like a damn fly keeps flying around."
Yeah.
Thought he was trying to cast a spell on me. No. Oh, wow. Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for sharing that, because it sounds simple, but those simple concepts are profound. There's a lot that goes into it, right? It's not easy to maintain a genuine relationship, like a real one where you actually connect, and there's accountability on both ends, which is what that means. And then the other is being able to listen, right? And I talk about this in some book that I keep telling myself I'm going to write, but I spent a lot of time in acting class when I thought I wanted to be an entertainer in that respect. And one of the things I took from it, after paying attention to what they were trying to teach me and all the different teachers that I had, is the active modes of listening. You're either actively accepting, actively rejecting, or actively confused, and you just have to determine where you are on the spectrum at any given time to inform you about what to do, right? But so many people spend their time waiting just to speak again. Mm-hmm. Instead of actively listening and taking something. Do you agree with that? Do you accept that? Do you reject that? Are you confused by that? Oh, that means you should ask a question, So there's so many fundamental, simple things that are so profound. So I love that you share that. And I just wanted to add my own 2 cents to that because that's what I took from it. And before I ask the grand finale, I want to make sure, Jason, was there anything you wanted to say?
No, good.
Okay.
Let's go into the grand finale. I'll close her out.
Here's the grand finale. Okay. Stacey, Jules. Okay. If you could have invited anybody today, your pick of the litter, dead or alive, any time and place in the world, who would you have loved to have had here and why?
Yeah, but I want you to go first. Okay.
I would have invited Sarah Blakely because she gets the journey that we're on. Not many people do. Especially being female founders, and we're in a male dominated space with our product, but also with raising funding and all of that. And I think there is an understanding that she would have of what we're doing, and a mutual respect for each other, for building something that's bigger than you. So yeah, she would be mine. I have such mad respect for her and what she's done and who she is. Actually, her reputation that she's kept along the way. I have a lot of respect for her.
Yeah. Mine would be Eleanor Roosevelt. She was just way before her time, standing up for women's rights and just didn't hold back. She was just she was a badass. She was a badass woman. She didn't ride on anybody's coattails. She actually paved the way for so many others. So that would who I would choose.
That's great.
Right on. Okay. I'm with it. I'm here for it. I think those are great choices, and it says a lot about the DNA of your business, and how much passion, dedication, and vision is going into it. That's why I love asking that question, because of how that relates to, we carry our inspirations with us everywhere we go, like songs that are earworms that won't get out of our head. So with that, thank you so much. Those are my closing thoughts. I'm so glad we had a chance to meet and talk. Jason,
Yeah.
Anything
so,
you want to say? Close it out.
of course. Does a bear shit in the woods?
They do. That they do.
Exactly. Well, I always like to say this in closing thoughts. We all have the same amount of hours every week. We have 168 hours. Thanks for stopping by and taking 30, 40 minutes to spend with us. Love your mission. Love what you're doing. And don't ever let anybody tell you anything different. Follow your heart. Don't follow your wallet. Follow your heart. Because the wallet part takes care of itself most of the time. If you follow your heart and you just do good, doing good will always just be good business. So if you do that, you're authentic and real. People will see that. Everything else falls in line. It's an amazing thing. So keep on your mission and, stay on brand. Don't change for anybody. And just do what you know is in your heart and what is right. Thank you for being on the show.
Our
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.